Hey, welcome to Worship Tutorials. I want to talk to you today about something that's very personal to me and something that I'm very passionate about, and that is how to stay engaged in the church when you've been mistreated by a church. I was talking to a friend of mine who's a pastor recently, and I was sharing with him some stories of my life because I want you to know if you're going through a situation where a church is taking advantage of you, mistreating you, you're not alone. I've been there as well, multiple times. And I was sharing with this person some stories. And they kind of came back to me and said, Brian, something that's really interesting is that you have remained passionate about serving the church. Your heart has remained soft toward the church in spite of going through experiences where many people might hate the church or might give up on the church. And he said, how have you done that? Like how have you remained engaged in serving a church after going through this stuff? And it really made me think about what has happened in my life, because that is kind of strange when I think about it. So I'm going to share with you sort of 3 or 4 things that I did to sort of overcome these negative feelings, because trust me, I've gone through anger, resentment, sadness when it comes to the way I've been treated by churches before, as many of you have. So I'm going to share with you what I've done to sort of overcome that. Step 1, to stay passionate about serving the church when you've been mistreated, is find somebody that you can talk to that can counsel you, can give you advice. And there are a few things about this person, and I say this from experience because I have found this person a couple times in my life, different people. A few things that are important. The first thing is they need to be a Christ follower. They need to be engaged in their faith journey. And I'm not going to go into how you can determine whether somebody is a Christ follower or not. The Bible teaches us, though, that you can look at a person and see the fruit in their life. We're given the fruits of the Spirit. I like to think of it this way. Does this person look like Jesus in the way that they live their life? If they do, it's probably a great person to confide in, to engage with. Find somebody who's a Christ follower. This person probably should not be involved in the church that you're in. You need somebody who is an outside perspective. This is really important, actually, because if they're involved in the church, there's a lot that comes into play where you might not hear some of the things that you might need to hear from this person. So find somebody who's not involved in the church, and then it's just you have to be able to trust this person and be very open and honest in your dialogue with this person. But it's great to have an individual that you can confide in, and really somebody that offer you counsel, because you might need to hear some things that are difficult to hear through a situation like this. I say this because in the past when I have gone through this, I've heard things that are difficult to hear and took action that was not easy to take, but it's been for my benefit. The next point is to always understand that if you've been hurt by a church, if you've been taken advantage of, it's not the church. We like to say the big C church, meaning the church that Jesus established. The gates of hell will not overcome it, right? It's not the church that's doing this to you. It's a person or a group of people. Maybe it's a pastor. Maybe it's the pastor of the church. Maybe it's like the board. So it's people who are in leadership of the church, who represent the church, which makes it easy to think that the church has hurt me. But it's not true. It's a person. And people are not perfect. We're full of sin. You and I, we're full of sin. If we are pastors of church or in leadership, there will be times when we do something to somebody that we wish we hadn't. And they might come away from it thinking church is bad, right? So just understand that what has happened to you or happening to you has been done by a person, not by the church. And if those actions are not in line with the person of Jesus, then that is not of Jesus. That is not what the church is meant to do. It is a person who has failed, right? It's a person who has sinned and fallen short. But always remember that it's not the church that has hurt you. This can be a very difficult thing to sort of separate. But remember, it's a person that's done this to you. not the church. As you're going through this, as you're trying to sort of wrestle with the fact that this is a person or a group of people, not the church, that's why number one is so important, to have another outside person you can talk to, that you can be and trust, that you can be honest with. You need to be able to name names, right? You need to be able to say, this person did this. Like, what should I do about that? Where do I go with that, right? So that point number one, where you can have counsel in your life, that is godly counsel, lots of wisdom and trust, it's very important. So that kind of leads into point number three. It might be a situation where you need to leave. And if you do need to leave, you're probably going to hear it from point number one, this person, and this is what happened to me. This person said, Brian, you need to get out of this situation. Now, I was a little bit stubborn and hard-headed, and I thought, I'm loyal. I don't want to be one of these kinds of people that just jumps around from church. The church shopping mentality. This church doesn't have what I want or whatever. So I'm very much the kind of person that I want to make a situation better. I don't want to find a situation that I like and sit in it. I want to be an agent of change for good. And so it was hard for me to hear that and take action on that, because I thought, I don't want to leave the church. I want to engage in the church and change the culture of the church and make this a better place to be. And over and over again, my person that I confided in said to me, you need to leave. You need to leave. You need to leave. And finally I did. So be prepared. You might need to leave a church. And this can be hard, because especially if the person that you're getting counsel from is from the church, because there's a lot of manipulation involved in church leadership. It's a sad, heartbreaking thing to say, but it's just true. And the reason I say it's true is because I've seen it with my own eyes on multiple levels. I've experienced it. It might be a situation where you need to leave and engage in a healthier community. So in conclusion, there's really two things I want to say to you if you're going through something like this. One is, if you do find yourself in a situation where you need to leave a church, find another community of believers, another church where you can plug into. Church is important. The Bible talks about its importance. It models it in the book of Acts. We need to be in community with one another, in a healthy community. So find a place where you can plug in and serve and be around people in community. That's number one. Number two is, I just want to re-emphasize how important this person the point number one is, finding a person that you can confide in, that can give you counsel. Like, you could reach out to me here via YouTube or Instagram or whatever and say, I'm going through this, but I don't know you. I don't know the situation you're going through. This needs to be a person that you trust, that knows you, that is familiar with what's happening in your life, and that can give you advice. So this has to all happen within relationship. That is so important. But always remember, we are the church, and the church is the hope of the world. And so it always breaks my heart when I hear people say that they've given up on church because they had a terrible experience with a church leader who failed, right? It always breaks my heart. And I believe that the church is the hope of the world. I truly believe it. And that's why I'm so passionate about serving in a church. I'm not on staff at a church, but I serve in a church and I lead worship, and I love the community of believers that I get to serve with. And I really hope that especially if you're going through a negative situation, I really hope you can find that, because that is another way that's going to help you really heal when it comes to being mistreated by a church. So just know that you're not alone. Know that there's hope, and find somebody that you can confide in that can help you go through it. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.